Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for June 7th. So I'm recording this on Monday in the afternoon, and 5 members, including the leader of the Proud Boys, have just been charged by DOJ with seditious conspiracy. This is huge. If I'm not mistaken, that was the same charge that was levied against the leader and however many of the Oath Boys. So we're going to take a look at that. Before I get there, thank you for all of my new subscribers, all of the new commenters, my established ones. You just know I adore you. So it's really nice to see those numbers sort of creeping up a little bit. So I'm very grateful for that. I appreciate you checking out the Soulprint experience. I hope you enjoy it. For those of you who got to the very, very end of the video that was released Friday morning called And So It Begins, and you caught the mother-daughter interlude at the very end of that video, well, you know, that's what you call real life, right? I just didn't press the pause button hard enough when, we started our conversation, so you got to witness some of that. So, you know, what can I say? Life just rolls on. Okay, Boris Johnson just survived a non-confidence vote. That's not surprising. You know, I think non-confidence votes, generally speaking, are a spanking. You know, they are like your political party saying that is enough of that nonsense, but you know, not kind of enough so that we're going to like boot you right out of the party. Typically, people who survive non-confidence vote don't generally get reelected to office the next time around. So I guess we'll watch that and see what happens. Okay, hold on, I gotta pick up a card. Not surprisingly, it was the Knight of Wands, which is kind of interesting, right? It's the new news coming out. It's the news coming out about the Department of Justice and what they're doing and what they've been investigating. So this is kind of the question, right? So seditious conspiracy means there was a conspiracy. So, you know, a couple of people or more get together and they decide that they're going to do this. What they decided they were going to do on January 6th was overturn the government. That's like, you know, that's like really not cool. Okay. So, you know, that's going to carry some weight. They're going to have some real trouble backing themselves out of the situation, frankly, because they took all kinds of credit for it, apparently on social media, et cetera, et cetera. But my question is, are we going to find out who else they were conspiring with? Were they conspiring with members of the Republican Party? Were they acting on what they believed was or were, in fact, you know, messages from their president? I use the word loosely. So that's going to be curious. That's kind of one of the things I want to take a look at. I was, as I was watching this news, they were showing a clip from Fox News, actually. I wasn't watching Fox News, but of Chris Wallace, who, you know, actually can be called a legitimate news reporter, asking Trump if the stand down, stand by part of that message was in fact a message to, you know, those kinds of organizations. He danced around it and finally decided it was, you know, it was a message to the corrupt and horrible people on the left. So, but we all know that's not true. So, I don't know. Let's take a look. I want to see how the Department of Justice is doing. I want to take a look at kind of what else is coming down the line, actually, when it comes to seditious conspiracy. And like apparently those are like serious charges. This is not, you know, trespassing or, you know, destruction of something on the hill. this is serious stuff. And so it's going to be curious to see how that sort of plays out going forward. So, come on down. I have a question. Here we go. So, Department of Justice, seditious conspiracy. Department of Justice, sedition conspiracy. Department of Justice, sedition conspiracy. What do we have? Okay. So, the Hierophant, so that's awesome, right? This is big government. This is big government organization. So we can assume, I think at this point, that this represents the Department of Justice. They have been working very hard and they have been working very diligently. They have acquired a great deal of information and they are looking over past events truly, truly with a fine tooth comb. What I'm energetically seeing is sort of like circles within circles within circles, sort of like that immediate reaction when you drop a rock into the water and it just, right? So what they're showing me is the outer ring was the biggest, and it was the, you trespassed, you did this, you did that, okay? Then we move in a couple of rings, and this is where we are now, okay? We're now with the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers like that, who are getting charged with a really, really serious crime. They are still moving towards, the Department of Justice is still moving towards that center, right where the rock dropped, okay? So that is yet to come. But they haven't taken their eye off the ball. And like I said, I think, I actually think it could have been in the And So It Begins video. The Department of Justice, in some ways, seemed to be waiting for the J6 committee to kind of finish its stuff and start presenting it. In part, I think because there's some information that they're going to be able to get from the J6 committee. In part because there's going to be referrals that are made to the Justice Department, and they literally are going to, those referrals are going to come with boxes and boxes of documentation. So even though it has felt like it has been like dragging a ball and chain to get like the Department of Justice to get moving, with the Eight of Wands here, you can see that once it has started, and it has, it's now going to move very, very quickly because it's getting closer and closer and closer to the center. I imagine the next ring that we're going to see is going to have to do with politicians, whether, I don't know, is it the Gomez, is it the Jim Jordans, is it the Gates, is it, the Bobbits? But there's going to be yet another circle. And then I think there's going to be another circle that's going to be family or very, very close advisors. And then we're going to see ultimately if Trump is the center of it. So, this is the thing. We all kind of know he's the center of it, but it's going to be a matter of what can be proven. And honestly, whether they really kind of are prepared to lay that kind of charge on a president, a former president. And listen, I know everybody's supposed to be treated equally under the law. I think we're all big enough boys and girls that we realize that just doesn't happen as often as we would hope and wish it would happen. We shall see. We're going to let this thing unfold, right? Temperance. Okay. So you have that sort of energy of The Department of Justice, as much as it has been crazy frustrating for probably most people watching it, they have been moving forward in a very even handed, temperate way. There's a reason for that. They don't want this sort of accusations of rush to judgment. Um, they don't want it to um, look like a banana republic, right? They don't want it to look like as soon as he was out of office, they were just going to throw the whole lot of them in jail. And, the American Justice Department, or the American justice system, I mean, um, you know, I'm going to say it this way. It's not a perfect system, but it's the best there is. Okay. And so one has to be very mindful not only of what you're doing today, but what those ripples and what the ramifications are going to be a little bit further down the road. So that's part of the reason that they were being so careful moving forward. But if you think about it, um, wasn't it just like Thursday or Friday that, um, oh my goodness, what's his name? The guy that just got indicted. Um, it'll come back to me. So you can see where there's sort of like an increased amount of activity um, starting to flow out of the Justice Department. And of course, there's the Justice card. That couldn't be more fitting. So, I think just generally speaking, this is about the Justice Department moving forward, about justice ultimately getting served and getting served in a way where I guess I want to say, aside from a few delusional people, the justice is going to seem to be unbiased and fair and well, I guess documented, what proven well, that kind of thing. Okay, so there's that. Oh my. Okay, so there, of course, is everybody who watches me all the time knows that very, very often, most times, the King of Pentacles card really is about the former guy, um, the wannabe king, and things are not going so well for him. They're really not. Um, but what you're going to discover is that he is absolutely sort of part and parcel of the story. And I think once the J6 committee starts their hearings, the first one coming this Thursday, um, we're going to hear the story in a way that is logical and clear. And I think that that's going to create a whole lot more just clarity across the board in terms of what they know that we don't know. And I think that there's going to be an awful lot we don't know that we're going to find out. So there's that. And the exposure. Okay. So this Sun card represents a couple things. One, it represents the fact that the Department of Justice is ultimately going to see success as they pursue justice. And the other part of the other message from the Sun card is that not only is who going to face some significant exposure, but a lot of the plot and the ramifications and the people involved are also going to end up being exposed. Yeah, you know what? This is the thing. They being the right wing were really prepared to make deals with the devil if they had to. They didn't care. They were going to go into partnership with anybody who could strengthen their chances of this coup being successful. That's why you have the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys now being charged. You know, this grouping of people, okay, um, were really prepared to get into bed with anybody, to form alliances with anybody who was going to, as they saw it, have success or help them gain success. And according to what we're hearing now, Mark Meadows was receiving texts so fast and furious from everybody saying, you got to get Trump to calm them down. You got to get him, tell them to back off. And I don't know, was he telling him? I don't know, but he sure as heck was receiving enough messages about it. Did Trump listen? Not for many, many hours, but you know. And then when he did, of course, he did it with the whole stand down, stand by message. So that just sort of actually inflamed it and made the whole situation, I think, worse. A lot of information. But you know what? This is the thing. It's coming. And I got to be careful how I phrase this. I was going to say it's coming to an end, but it really isn't. It feels more like it's at the very beginning of the last piece of the puzzle. And we need to go through that piece of the puzzle so that we get all of the information that we absolutely can. Question is, does it actually destroy the Republican Party? And I think the answer to that is that you're going to see even more of a fracturing where you're going to have the new, really aggressive, just behavior, the Taylor Greens and the Bobitts and the Gateses and the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They are going to continue to hold tight. But it feels as if overall the Republican Party, the more traditional part of the Republican Party, are actually going to start working towards separating themselves from some of the worst, if you will. Okay, I guess we'll look at you too. So clearly, there are people who are going to try to swim away. They're going to be deniers. They're going to be uncooperative. When we've already seen tons of that, mostly in the form of, Republican politicians. Okay. But I don't want you to be discouraged because it really does feel like there is more to come than we think or expect or anticipate. And there's going to be sort of a handful of people, if you will, who are going to be incredibly defensive. But that's not going to take them to a place where that defensiveness is going to serve them well. What it's going to do is it's going to take them from a place of position, power, success, happiness, to a place where they are bound. Now, whether that is in jail, whether that is really serious charges that may lead to guilty verdicts but not jail, but they're going to find that they get tighter, like, the binds are getting tighter and tighter and tighter around them. Ultimately, a significant number of sort of the worst, if you will, they're going to really end up out in the cold. They really, really are. There's going to be such news coming, and it's not going to be great news for them, but the partnerships, like the interconnections that we still don't have clarity on. It's like, okay, well, exactly who in the government per se was communicating with the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers, or who in the, hello, Nova, who in the government was talking to, what, the Roger Stones, who were then talking to the Proud Boys. Hello, little boy. For those of you new to the channel, this is Nova. Hi. He doesn't often make appearances like this, but when he does, come on, buddy. Thank you. All of you. Thank you. Those are some of the things that we have yet to hear about, but that are definitely going to become known. Okay. And so those people that were involved are definitely going to be getting news that they really don't want to hear, and they're going to be suffering from disappointment and loss, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, and why not? There comes the devil. So those people who were functioning in a backwards way, and I love that definition for devil, because if you spell it backwards, you get the word lived. And so very often the devil card talks about people who are living backward, who are all about greed and power and selfishness. And it looks like some of them are going to have a bit of a hard road ahead of them. Okay. Yeah. I don't think that their position, I don't think their money or their contacts are going to save them. Now, I'm not saying every single one is going to crash and burn, but I think we've got a sort of a handful who are really, really going to be feeling the pinch, if you will. And so, like I say, it really does feel like there's another 2 or 3, if not more, circles that are going to be facing questions about what the heck went on January 6th, who was involved, how much planning went on, who was involved in the planning, and ultimately, how much did he know, and how much was that wannabe king prepared to do to stay in an office that was no longer rightfully his. Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of what I know, right? You've just got a situation here where I think that you're going to see a lot of guilty charges, a lot of guilty verdicts. Certainly, when it comes to these 2 groupings, if you will, of sedition charges, and so it will continue. Okay, this isn't over yet. This isn't over, and while some of us want already to be able to kind of close the book on this, um, it all the chapters have not yet been read. Okay. All right. So that's what I know. Also, just something interesting that I want to share with you. So there was something that came out. I caught it this morning when I was watching MSNBC, I think. That the 3 biggest concerns that were going to impact people vote come the midterms at this point were the economy, inflation, and gas prices. Those are all really big concerns. You bet. I mean, we're paying over $6 for what would be a gallon in the States for gas here. We're suffering, from the same sort of high prices, et cetera, et cetera. We get it. I get it. We're kind of all in this together, even though everybody wants to blame, Biden. But it was a little just surprising to me, and I don't know whether it wasn't an option, but it was really surprising to me that things like women's reproductive rights and guns were not um, on that list somewhere. As I speak, I understand that there is a bipartisan group getting together and they're ready to start talking about gun safety, and how to settle some of the craziness down that's been going on in your country. It's almost like somebody lit a fire and everybody's just shooting everybody. It's really scary. And so when I say in closing, be well, stay safe, and I'll see you next time, I really mean it. Bye, guys.